Imagine waking up one day to find yourself accused of a crime you don't understand, trapped in a system that refuses to explain itself. You run from office to office, person to person, seeking answers, only to be met with blank stares, meaningless bureaucracy, and rules that seem designed to keep you lost. No one helps. No one cares. This isn't just a story. This is Kafkaesque. Franz Kafka, a German-speaking writer from Prague, was never a philosopher in the traditional sense. He didn't write grand theories or argue about human nature in abstract terms. Instead, he showed us the absurdity of existence through his surreal, unsettling stories, where logic fails, institutions crush the individual, and life itself becomes a puzzle without a solution. His works, such as The Trial, The Metamorphosis, and The Castle, have given birth to the term Kafkaesque, a word we now use to describe situations that feel absurdly oppressive, nightmarishly bureaucratic, and disturbingly inescapable. But Kafka's world isn't just a horror show. It's a mirror, a warning, a truth we often try to ignore. What does it mean to be Kafkaesque? At its core, Kafkaesque represents a world where power is faceless, justice is an illusion, and the rules of life seem to shift just when you think you understand them. It's that moment when you're stuck in an endless cycle of paperwork just to fix a simple mistake. A corporation buries you in legal terms you can't fight against. You try to reason with an authority figure, only to be met with silence or nonsense. Kafka's stories take this feeling and stretch it to the extreme. In The Trial, Joseph K. is arrested and prosecuted without ever being told what he did wrong. In The Metamorphosis, Gregor Samsa turns into a giant insect overnight, and instead of trying to help, his family treats him like an inconvenience. In The Castle, a man named K. struggles to gain access to an elusive authority, only to realize that understanding the system is impossible. The Kafkaesque world is one where meaning is lost, power is unreachable, and the more you struggle, the deeper you sink. But the brilliance of Kafka is that he never fully explains why things happen the way they do. The absurdity itself is the point. In his world, power is not evil, it's indifferent. The people enforcing the rules don't understand them either. It's not a conspiracy. It's just how the system works. Kafka's philosophy, the absurdity of modern life. Although Kafka never wrote formal philosophical essays, his works align closely with existentialism and absurdism. The ideas that life has no inherent meaning, and that humans are trapped in a world that refuses to make sense. Kafka exposes a fundamental truth. The world doesn't care about your logic. The system isn't designed to help you. And no matter how much you try to make sense of things, you may never get the answers you seek. This is where his philosophy collides with thinkers like Albert Camus and Jean-Paul Sartre. Like them, Kafka paints a picture of life as an absurd, confusing maze. But unlike Camus, who believes in rebelling against absurdity, Kafka's characters often resign themselves to their fate. They either submit or disappear into the void, swallowed by forces they cannot control. In a Kafkaesque world, there is no grand rebellion, only quiet, slow suffocation under a system too large and too chaotic to fight. Why Kafka's work still matters today. If Kafka were alive today, he wouldn't need to change a single word of his writing. Because the Kafkaesque nightmare isn't just a literary concept, it's the world we live in. Have you ever felt powerless against bureaucracy? Have you ever watched someone get punished for something they didn't even understand? Have you ever been stuck in a system where no one seems to know what's going on, but everyone pretends to follow the rules? Kafka saw it all coming. The rise of faceless corporations, the absurdity of legal systems, the loneliness of modern life. That's why his work still feels relevant. Because in many ways the world is Kafkaesque. The modern workplace, for example, is a perfect Kafkaesque nightmare. Endless meetings that solve nothing. Policies that exist only to be followed, not questioned. A growing sense that you are just a replaceable part in a machine too big to understand. And social media? Even worse. You can be cancelled for something you didn't mean, punished for breaking rules no one explained, or shadow banned without ever being told why. The algorithms decide what you see. The system decides who gets heard. And if you try to fight it, you get lost in an endless loop of appeals and automated responses. Kafka's world has arrived, and we are all living in it. The lesson of Kafka: how do we escape the absurd? So what do we do with this knowledge? If the world is a maze of meaningless rules and faceless power, how do we fight back? Kafka doesn't give easy answers, but he does give us something else: awareness. The first step to escaping the Kafkaesque trap is seeing it for what it is. Understanding that the system isn't always logical, so stop expecting it to be. Authority doesn't always have your best interests in mind, so don't blindly trust it. The rules of the game were written by people who don't have to play by them, so question them. And above all, remember, you are not crazy. The system is. But awareness alone is not enough. Kafka's world is not about direct oppression. It's about confusion, inertia, and silent submission. The biggest trap of a Kafkaesque system is that it makes you doubt yourself. It convinces you that resistance is futile, that the absurdity must be accepted, that asking why is pointless. The real lesson? Don't fall into that trap. Don't mistake confusion for inevitability. Start by reclaiming control where you can. The system may be massive, but your choices still matter. Question authority. Not recklessly but intelligently. Simplify your life where possible. The more entangled you are in pointless bureaucracy, the more power it has over you. Create your own meaning. The world may not hand you clarity, but you can define it for yourself. Kafka's characters often fail because they accept the madness of the world without question. They follow rules that make no sense. They try to reason with forces that don't care. The real lesson? Don't play by absurd rules. Rewrite them. Because in a world where everything is designed to make you feel powerless, the most powerful thing you can do is refuse to submit. Kafka didn't just write about nightmares, he exposed the ones we already live in. His work forces us to confront the unsettling truth that much of life is beyond our control. That systems are flawed. That power is often arbitrary. But he also gives us a choice. We can either be like his characters, lost, confused, and trapped, or we can step back and see the absurdity for what it is. The question is, what will you do with that awareness? If this made you rethink the world around you, imagine what else you're missing. Kafka's insights are just the tip of the iceberg. There's so much more to uncover, and the more you understand, the less power the absurd world has over you. So don't stop here. Subscribe for more deep dives into philosophy, literature, and the hidden truths of existence. Because once you start seeing through the illusion, there's no going back. And remember, just because the world is absurd doesn't mean you have to be a prisoner in it.